While in Indonesia, I visited Cetho Temple on the slope of Mount Lawu. The climbing Mount Lawu is not too difficult, but my goal was not to climb but to see the life of Indonesian people in the 15th century AD on the slopes of Mount Lawu. Indonesia is known to respect other religious beliefs and is full religious tolerance. Religious tolerance can be seen on the slope of Mount Lawu. Cetho Temple is a 15th century Hindu temple located on the western slope of Mount Lawu in central Java, Indonesia. It is one of the last Hindu temples built in Java before the island conversion to Muslim. The temple is renowned for its terraced layout, which is reminiscent of the ancient Javanese architectural style. Visitors can explore the temple's intricate stone carving and statue, which depicts scenes from Hindu mythology. The temple is situated at an elevation of approximately 1,496 meters below sea level, offering stunning view of the surrounding landscape. Cetho Temple is not only a place of worship, but also a site of cultural and historical significance, attracting both pilgrims and tourists alike. The Cetho, Indonesian Candi Cetho, is a 15th century Javanese Hindu temple that is located on the western slope of Mount Lawu. Elevation 1,496 above sea level on the border between Central and East Java province. Cetho Temple is one of several temples built on the northwest slopes of Mount Lawu in the 15th century. By this time, Javanese religion and art had diverged from Indian precepts that had been so influential on temple styles during the 8th to 10th century. This area was the last significant area of temple building in Java before the island core were converted to Muslim in the 16th century. The temple distinctiveness and lack of record of Javanese ceremonies and belief of the era make it difficult for historians to interpret the significance of these antiques. Fortunately, the layout of the reconstructed people is still true to the original, taking the shape of terrace, which is often associated with the pre-Hindu megalithic culture and architecture. Indeed, it is believed that when a society is under pressure from a new religion, people often look back to their roots, usually to the culture and religion that predate their own. Before the introduction of Hinduism to the people of Java, animism was the predominant belief of the people, and places of worship were built as contiguous terraces. Hindu symbolism is apparent at Candi Cetho, including turtle statue symbolizing the creation of the universe, a giant paus symbolizing the creation of human, and relief panel depicting sun from Sudamala, a chapter in the Hindu epic Mahabharata. A sun sculpture suggests that the temple was constructed by Majapahit, albeit during its decline, as it was the official emblem of the kingdom. The main temple, perched on the highest terrace, faced the mountain, suggesting the local belief that the gods reside in the mountain, not in the sky. Afterward, we follow a path going into the forest behind the temple compound to look for another temple which was built in the same period with Candi Ceto, named Candi Ceto by the local due to the presence of many monkey, Cetek in Javanese. Around the temple in the past, its structure hidden from plain sight by dense vegetation and green canopy. Taking the layout of terraces, Candi Cetek history is still yet to be fully understood for the lack of inscription of archaeological artifact around the temple. Understanding the history of Candi Ceto is understanding how humans behave in certain circumstances. Culture evolve, so do religions, and along the process humans leave their mark in an often remarkable and fascinating fashion. Be it stepped pyramid, ornate temple, towering churches, elegant mosque, or imposing skyscraper, the pattern keep repeating itself one way or another. Cetho is one of several temples built on the northwest slopes of Mount Lawu in the 15th century. By this time, Javanese religion and art had diverged from Indian precepts that had been so influential on temple styles during the 8th to 10th century. This area was the last significant area of temple building in Java before the island core were converted to Islam in the 16th century. The temple's distinctiveness and the lack record of Javanese ceremonies and beliefs of the era make it difficult for historians to interpret the significance of these antiquities. History Cetho Temple. According to the historian and ancient history, Cetho Temple Karanganyar also built at the same time with the Suku Temple around the 15th century at the end of the heyday of the Hindu Majapahit Empire. This site built during the collapse of Majapahit influence the form of temple architecture. This temple was very unique, shapes as unique as Suku architecture. Cetho not have the form as in the Hindu temple in Java in general, the form that resembles Pundan, displaying the conclusion that the fall of Majapahit makes the emergence of indigenous cultural community back. Cetho Temple Karanganyar actually temple consisting of 14 terraces, patio that stretches from west to east, from bottom to top. However, all that remain is 13 terraces, and unfortunately, again restoration ever undertaken only at 9 terraces only. The scientific record of the existence of the site Temple Karanganyar first time by a Dutchman named Van der Vlies in 1842. There are also several other archaeologists who have conducted research on the Cetho Temple Karanganyar, namely A.G. Bennett Campers, N.G. Krom, W.F. Sutterham, K.C. Kruik, and Indonesian name Ribut Darmo Sutopo. Finally, this Cetho Temple Karanganyar, a site excavated in about 1928, and that is where it's known that the site was built during the end of Majapahit in the 15th century. But somehow there are still differences of opinion regarding the manufacture of this Cetho Temple Karanganyar. There are some experts who have the opinion that this Cetho Temple Karanganyar actually been built long before the Majapahit period. It is based on evidence that the temple was built with the basic material of andesit with reliefs very simple, while most of the Majapahit era temple are built using the basic ingredients of red bricks and has a much more detailed relief. And like Suku, that this temple has architectural shape that looks more like the temple premises from the Mayan civilization in Mexico or the Incas in Peru. In addition, several statues were found here are not all at all similar to the face of the Javanese, but more similar to the Sumerian or the Roman, and so times are much older than the time of Majapahit. Candi Ceto is one of several hillside temples in Karanganyar Regency that defy the usual schema of Central and East Java temple design. Rather than comprising a solitary isolated temple tower or group of towers such as Prambanan, Candi Ceto and its piers are laid out in an axial arrangement along the gentle slope of a hillside. While this format somewhat resembles certain antique temple in the Yogyakarta region, example Candi Ijo and Candi Barong, they are fairly late addition to the canon and mainly date to the final generation of the Majapahit period or shortly thereafter. A 14th terraced comprises the Cetho site when it was discovered in 1842, but subsequent restoration either reduced the number to 13 or there was a mistake the original survey. The present reconstruction is the product of both 1978 restoration that reimagined the temple as Balinese monument, complete with an air-catching but historical inaccurate Candi Bentar style gate as its foot. Fortunately, many of the crucial details such as unusual stone design on the mid-level terraces were left as is, as was the monumental pyramid at the top of the ensemble. Importance and meaning. What are we to make of this monument, which is so out of character of anything outside of Karanganyar? One possibility alluded to in signposts on site is that the temple atavistic demeanor is a reaction to the traumatic collapse of Majapahit in the face of the advance of Islamic kingdom from the west, such as the Mak, which were generally hostile to Hindu practice. But this is somewhat at odds with the dated inscription found and on site, which corresponded to 1437 to 1457, some generation before the kingdom's final downfall. However, it was firmly within living memory of the Great War, ruinous civil war from 1404 to 1406, where the founder of Candi Ceto, refugee from the strife of the plain of Java. An alternate or perhaps complementary theory is offered by Kenny, who suggests that in lieu of the formalized highbrow ritual of regal Majapahit ancestor worship, religious individuals may have been drawn to the mountain for personal devotion and worship of their own ancestor. Thus the temple may have functions within Majapahit society, hence the prominent image of the Majapahit sun emblem, but as an alternative site of devotion for individual disaffected by or unfulfilled with the formalized cult of the Majapahit aristocracy and ruling dynasty. If Cetho represented a new direction in Java architecture, the experiment was short-lived. The rise of Islamic kingdom meant that any formal support from the state, if ever it existed, was no longer forthcoming. In the increasingly Islamized center of the population, we may well imagine hardy group of Hindu stalwarts who retreated to the mountain to sustain their faith. While such community have endured, their resources were unnecessarily limited. The era of great Hindu temple building had drawn to a close in Indonesian archipelago.